Hi, welcome to Head On. I'm Paul Winn, and tonight we have a really good show for you, one about dog breeders and the importance of selecting a good dog and how you do it and how you select a good breeder. And with me to discuss this subject is Sandi Malcolm. Welcome, Sandi.
Hi, thank you, Paul.
Well, as I said, what is a breeder, dog breeder?
A dog breeder is a person that is very passionate about a certain breed of dog. We learn as much as we can about the dog, the genetics, the health concerns, temperaments, personalities, everything that a person needs to know if you're going to have one of these animals in your life. And then if you do that and you get a dog yourself and you fall in love with it and you decide that maybe you'd make this your lifelong commitment, which is what happened to me, then you research and you go into finding out how to go about breeding them.
Okay, I was going to say that something that didn't even occur to me before, meeting you was, does a breeder stick with one particular breed? Like, I mean, would you get somebody who breeds 5 different types of dogs, or do they usually stick to one breed?
A good, responsible, ethical breeder may have 1 or 2 breeds.
Okay.
They may change breeds in their lifetime. I know a few people that are my vintage that are working on maybe their 3rd breed of dog in their life, but rarely would they do more than 2 breeds at a time. It's too financially taxing if you're going, because in order to have them, you should show them. Costs to maintain them properly are huge, and so on. So most good breeders have 1 or 2 breeds, and that's it.
So is showing part of something that a breeder would have to do to get, say, a credible dog?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? I mean,
well, when you take dogs into Canadian Kennel Club sanctioned shows, or in the States or in Europe, there's a standard that the dog should be bred to, and the judge judges your dog against that standard.
okay.
When you win, that means the judge is telling you that your dog is the best in the ring for that standard. So what that does for you as a breeder, it means that your breeding program is working, because you are producing dogs that are wonderful examples of the breed and should be included in a breeding program.
Okay. Now that's something. Points. There's something about points. Because that was something I didn't quite understand. A dog has to acquire so many points to be a champion.
To get your basic Canadian championship, you need to have 10 points.
Okay.
There's a whole long list of criteria from different judges, different shows. Sometimes you can get 2 points, sometimes 3, sometimes 1. And in the dog show world, we have what's called the dreaded 9. You can get a dog to 9 points, and for some reason you can go 2 months and never get that last point. But that's basically it. And then in the last few years, the Canadian Kennel Club has introduced a grand champion, and that you can put your dog into that after they attain their basic championship. For that, you have to get 20 more points with another whole set of criteria, and then you can go on for a grand champion excellent, which I'm not quite sure what the number of points is, but it's another set of criteria. So it's a long, involved process, but we love it. And for my breed, which is a miniature schnauzer, I have to do tons of coat work, because in my breed...
What's that mean, coat?
Well, miniature schnauzer, most terriers have to have harsh coats.
Okay.
It comes from heritage.
Yes.
They have to be harsh and brisk, wiry feeling, and that's protection, because they are originally ratters in the barns.
Oh, right.
So those coats protect them from vermin in the barns. And in order to attain that, they have to be, the coat has to be prepared. And sometimes it'll take me 3 months to get a coat ready to go in the ring. And then, and for my guys, the schnauzers, coats stand for a huge percentage of the quality of the dog. Yeah, so it's quite important.
Okay, well, like in breeders, do they have to I guess some breeders have, I guess, a champion female or a champion. Oh, they might also or male. You know, is there something better, one or the other? Do you think?
Well, a good breeder should know genetics and should know pedigrees. Myself, I research for months to find the perfect addition to my pedigree and to the genetics of my dog. And that's not just to make them pretty. That's to make sure that their conformation is the best it can be. So if you don't have a dog that's built properly, they can't move properly. And then in later years, they're likely to have health issues because just like a human, if you have crooked legs, you get arthritis in that leg. So you check pedigrees and that sort of thing. For myself, I have 2 males at home, but I don't use them to breed with my females because the lineage is too close. And it's not safe. So I go elsewhere, you know.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, like it makes sense not to, you know, and we don't like people to inbreed, you know, because you end up getting anomalies and you know, problems. Sometimes various difficulties. So now, as I think I mentioned to you that I have bearded collies, and so I've had some dealings with breeders. And I'll tell you, if I had the kind of attention on buying a car that I had from the breeders trying to buy the dog, I got put through a lot of paces. Is that standard, do you think?
Absolutely. I shouldn't admit this, but I have been called a Nazi.
Oh, okay.
Because we have, my husband and I, we have a 4-page questionnaire that I give to people the first time they come to my home. They come before we even have puppies. We interview them, we find out if they're the kind of people we want to have one of our dogs. Then they go home with a questionnaire. And like I said, it's 4 pages long. And I ask questions like, do you have a fenced yard? Are there smokers in the house? What do you plan on doing with this dog? Do you have children? All those kinds of things. And I want them back. And then they go in the file for the next breeding. And I tell people honestly that just because they've come doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get a puppy, because there may not be a puppy in the litter that's suitable for them.
No, I face that myself.
Yeah. And, you know, you can have 6 puppies and they can be 6 different personalities. And as a breeder, you know, they're born into your hands. So you get to know them within a week. I already know what their temperaments and their personalities are going to be like. So people hopefully respect and understand a breeder's knowledge to say that this little blue one here, you know, because I put colored collars on them. So I know that little blue is just going to fit in with your family just perfectly. And along with that, I tell people, please don't fall in love with a puppy. Don't pick a puppy. I don't let them pick a puppy because I know which is going to fit them best. And most people are agreeable, and in all the years we've been breeding dogs, people have been very happy with that.
Hey, at what stage would the dog get registered with the kennel club, or do they have to get registered?
Yes, they do. A good, responsible breeder registers all the dogs. As a matter of fact, in Canada, it's a felony to sell a dog as a purebred without registration. You must have registration papers.
Do they get tattooed? Or
they can be tattooed or microchipped.
Okay.
People do both now. And I still tattoo my dogs. I'm old school and I like it. I have a very good artist who does it, so they last lifelong. But litters are registered when they're born, and then you get the paperwork back from the Canadian Kennel Club, and then each individual puppy, when it goes to its home, is individually registered. And I don't let puppies go till they're 10 weeks of age, so at 10 weeks, all the paperwork is completed and signed. My own contracts with the people are completed and signed. Pet puppies all have non-breeding contracts, so those are all signed and completed and all sent off to Canadian Kennel Club, usually around 10 or 11 weeks.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask you, because I know there you can't show your dog, I guess, if you fix them.
That's right. Although the Canadian Kennel Club in the last couple of years has added altered classes to shows. So, and it's pretty new, and people are loving it. Yeah, so you can put altered dogs in. Yeah.
I found it was so tiring for me. My last dog, we showed, you know, just as a puppy, and she won best at the show, and for her class. But I thought, "Oh, I can't do this," and so
it's not as easy as it looks.
I ended up having her fixed, you know, because I wasn't planning to show her. I think she got 1 point. So
Oh, yeah.
she,
Well, that's all right. You had a taste of it, you know. It's not as easy as it looks. I know people think that you just flounce around the ring and look pretty and the dog looks wonderful, but for me to get a dog ring ready, I like to teach them to what's called self-stack, and that's when they, you know, they go into position and they look all beautiful.
Yeah.
I do that as preservation for myself because I can't get down on my knees and get up graciously in the ring. So I like them to self-stack so that I don't have to do that. But that is probably months of training.
Sure.
You know, they're trained right from the get-go. My puppies go on the table at 2 weeks of age. And I just give them a little brush and I play with their feet because Schnauzers are heavy grooming dogs and they are for life. So they go on the table a couple of times a week right through till when they go to their new homes. So by the time they're in their new homes, they're relaxed and comfortable, and for any dogs that I put in the show, when they're on the table, they're accepting of judges and strangers, and they're good citizens.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's got to be, I say, one of the issues. You know, you're talking about if you're going to have a dog, and as you say, it needs grooming. You know, that's going to be part. I mean, just walking them and feeding them isn't going to be enough. You know, if they have the kind of coat or body that needs to be done. But that brings me to something that surfaced when about the puppy mills. And now, I mean, I know that's not your line, but I know that you have a concern about people who put themselves out and then are basically puppy mills selling themselves out. And I was, how, maybe you can define for me what you see as a puppy mill.
That's a tough question because there's more than just puppy mills. I mean, there's commercial breeders, there's backyard breeders, mom and pop and such. But puppy mills, in addition to what everybody knows, filthy conditions, no socialization and all that sort of thing.
Cramped cages and
you know,
stuff.
dirty, you know, bad water. There's all of that is obvious to most people. But the other things associated with puppy mills are they won't allow, people who have them won't allow people on their property to see the dogs. Most of them live quite rural, so they fly under the radar. They'll meet people in a parking lot and sell a dog out of the back of their truck with no paperwork. They'll take credit cards. They'll negotiate prices. You know, like if somebody says, I can't afford $400, well, give me $300. You know, that's a puppy mill. That's a puppy mill. They will place dogs without ever meeting the people.
Yeah, that seems strange to me. I got, you know, I just find maybe because I have a passion for the dog. I mean, it's not. I don't see it. It's almost like a kid in my household. You know, like, and so
absolutely.
And I think
that's
a lot
owner.
of other people feel that way too, who have, you know, a dog that they got through a breeder particularly.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine somebody just. Well, I guess money is money. They could breed just because it's a paycheck, and you know. But there's no. It seems to be there's no accountability.
No. We have a neighbor who bought a dog off the internet.
Okay.
And she was so excited about getting this dog, so I went and looked at a picture of this dog that she was getting. And a couple of weeks later, we were meeting at the mailbox, and I said, oh, you didn't get, the dog's name was Rosie. I said, you didn't get Rosie? And she said, yes, I did. This is Rosie. And I said, no, it's not. So we went and looked at the picture she had that the breeder, not a breeder, sent her. The dog was not the same dog. So she paid over $2,000 for this dog to be flown to her from someone she never met, and it wasn't the same dog that she chose. So that's very unethical, and she's had nothing but health issues and problems with this dog. And when she tries to phone, this is another thing with the puppy mill. If a person has a problem with them and they try to contact them, you can't get a hold of them.
They disappear.
They're gone. They're disappeared, you know. And they're quite transparent because they don't leave paperwork trails.
Yeah.
They don't register their dogs. They don't have health records because, you know, like my dogs, by the time they're placed, have been to the vet 3 times. So there's a paper trail. And I talk to a lot of people who contact me first about wanting a Schnauzer. And when I tell them my criteria and the fact that I'm a Nazi, where I place my puppies, they say, oh, well, I can go to Kijiji and buy one for $400. So I say, well, good luck with that. Yeah. And then a few months down the road, they phone me and they say, I'm having this problem with my dog. And I'll say, well, why don't you talk to your breeder? Yeah. And they won't take the calls, or the phone is disconnected or something. So for the dog, I give them a phone call and give them help. And then after that, I say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You pay $400 for the dog, and then $1,200 for vet bills, and then, I mean, it's
and it's ongoing.
It's ridiculous, because you know, from what I've read, and it seems to me that the puppy mills are easily identifiable, which I don't understand why they still exist. You know, and without any kind of you know, sanctions or penalties being assigned, because and something that I've noticed lately, and I can't attribute it to puppy mills, but whenever I've gone into an off-leash park with my dogs lately, I've been finding a lot of people who say, oh, this is a rescue dog. So, you know, they get, I don't know, they get them from all over, it seems all over the world.
Yeah, they do.
And most of the ones that I've seen, and I'm generalizing here, have been very aggressive dogs. And you know, I don't know how one would deal with that, but because people feel compassionate and maybe they want a job, they think they're saving this dog's life, and that
you know.
it's difficult. But anyhow, I mean, it's a slightly different subject than the puppy mills. But
but no, it kind of ties in a bit, because you're dealing, like, my heart breaks for these dogs that are, you know, found on the streets and all that sort of thing. And anyone who wants to put the time and the effort into rehabilitating a rescue dog, I think that's wonderful. For other people who don't want to go that route, they shouldn't be chastised for not going that route. And I do hear that a lot. People say, oh, you shouldn't buy from a breeder. You should save a dog. And there's room for both. You know, there's room for both. And so I've met a lot of dogs that are called rescues, but they're not actually rescues. They're just, a neighbor can't keep the dog, so another neighbor takes the dog. That's not a rescue, that's a rehome. And thank goodness the one neighbor can do it. Rescues are those poor dogs in Mexico or whatever that, you know, are indeed rescued.
From all over the world.
I
had somebody that come by and say they got their rescue dog from Germany.
Well, yeah, they import them from everywhere in the world now.
That was rather strange. You know, I mean, sure, there's probably, dogs here in Canada that could be rescued and taken into homes.
There are a lot of Canadian dogs that need help, for sure. You know. But I always say to people too that whether you're rescuing a dog or you're buying a dog out of the newspaper, if something doesn't feel right, if it smells in any way, that's a red flag, and go with your gut. Absolutely go with your gut. Because if you feel it intuitively, then there is something wrong. And at least do more research.
Yeah, but you know, you must be able to, as you say, research a breeder. You know, like, I mean, like you have you know, a name and a site and an email address. If somebody wants to, you know, get a Schnauzer, and they say, okay, well, here's somebody listed as a breeder of Schnauzers, I can at least call them, find out, as you say, well, fine, I'll send you one of my 4-page forms. You can fill that in. And, we don't have a litter right now, but, you know, maybe in 3 months we will, or whatever, you know.
Whatever,
And you can, you know, they have a chance to follow up, and then you, because I mean, I was given some reading material and direction to go online to learn about the collie, the bearded collie.
Yeah.
So just because I knew nothing about it, I saw. I guess it was in England. Is there a championship called Crofts or something like that?
Yeah, in
Crofts?
England, yeah.
Well, one
It's
year,
the largest dog show in the world.
one year, the bearded collie won, and
exciting.
I saw this thing, and it was just, I wish I could remember the dog's name, and I thought, oh, I really like that dog, and then and in the ring, it was great, but about 2 days later in the paper was a picture of the same dog who had rolled in a mud puddle, like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
Yeah.
but I mean, it looked great in the tent.
Yeah.
And that's what got me interested in that particular breed, because
Yeah.
it looked so cool, and
Yeah.
the fact that
They're
it could be
great dogs.
playful enough to roll itself
Yeah.
in a mud puddle.
I always tell people, we've placed a few show dogs,
Yes.
into homes, and they want to learn about the showing and all that sort of thing. And I'm thrilled when they want to do that, because we welcome people into the sport.
Yeah.
But they get all worried about, well, what if they're all clean and groomed and all that? I say, no. First and foremost, they're a dog.
Yeah.
The only time you worry, and I would think that most people, breeders that show the dogs, would feel the same way.
Yeah.
A week before a show, be careful. Don't let them roll in a mud puddle.
Yeah.
But up before that, they're a dog. Let them run, let them play, they're a dog.
Yeah.
I know our dogs are first and foremost family pets.
Okay.
And after that, the ones that I have that are in age are show dogs, but they're first and foremost family pets.
Yeah.
And they are not kenneled. They sleep wherever they want in the house. They go into their area, into the kennels at night to sleep, but they go there quite willingly. At 10 o'clock, they look at me and they say, hey, it's time for bed, and they go in there on their own,
I know.
So that's what they like. But the rest of the day, no, they're...
I was wondering, is there a point or a time or a condition where, I'm thinking of females, is there some point in time when you say, look, that's it, we're not going to breed this one, use this as a breeder anymore, because is there a point when
There definitely is,
you look at that?
There definitely is. I would never breed a female before 2 years of age.
Right.
And even at 2 years of age, only if they have their Canadian championship.
Okay.
And I would never breed them after 5.
Okay.
And I breed them for a maximum of 3, and maybe not even that. Like my little girl that I was telling you about earlier, she's had 2 litters, and that will be it for her.
How many in the litter?
Well, Schnauzers, 4 to 5.
That's still a lot of dogs.
Mastiffs, 8 or 9,
Yeah.
and that's like the number of litters that you have, a breeder has in a year. For myself, it's usually only 1.
Okay.
But you get a person that breeds like a Great Dane, or a person that breeds like a Chihuahua. If they have 1 litter a year, a Great Dane might have 12 puppies in a year, and a Chihuahua might have 2 puppies. So it's better to go by number of puppies rather than, yeah.
But I just think, we wouldn't shove a human into a mill where they just, as soon as they, as soon as they kind of recovered from one litter, to go into the next.
And they don't.
But that, I get that impression though from the puppy mills.
Yes.
They have no regard for the breeding animal, like the mother of the litter.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But I don't know how we even prevent that from happening, because there's greed out there, and that's what drives it.
It's really, really hard, and I know with the province and this proposed licensing of breeders that they want to do, I have mixed minds about that. The Canadian Veterinary Medical Association has a standard that they've come up with, and truthfully, for me to follow that would be taking my dog's care down compared to how they're treated now. But what I fear is that even if they do that, if they license breeders, it won't stop puppy mills, because puppy mills are totally transparent.
That's true.
And like I said before, they don't have a paper trail. So how are they going to track back? They don't have vet records. They don't register their puppies. They do everything in cash. They meet in parking lots or malls. So even licensing a breeder like me who's already out there and you can follow me anywhere, it's not going to stop puppy mills.
See, I could see if they said, okay, to get a license as a breeder, I don't think it should be an exorbitant chunk of money. Like I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I say it's not an exorbitant, just something to say, okay, you are an official, licensed breeder, so therefore you could be subject to inspection on notice. Like they can come in and say, okay, we come to see your facilities to make sure you're up to snuff. But then the thing after that has to be education of the public. Because if somebody said to me, if you're going to get a dog, make sure it's a licensed breeder. Doesn't matter, and if the person has to get a license, even if they're a puppy mill, they then would be identified as such. They would be subject to inspections.
That's true.
And there would be like a paper trail locating who they are, where they are, and parking lots be damned. This is where your base is. That's what we then go out and see it. A licensed inspector would go out and see it. So that might be a help, but I don't think it should be money.
No, that's if they can get them to license in the first place.
Yeah, but if they don't license them, then the public who says, if I'm going to get a dog and the person who puts themselves up as a breeder can't show me their license, that's a clue for me.
Like all the breeders that I know and associate with, we all belong to the Canadian Kennel Club, the American Kennel Club. I belong to Nanaimo Kennel Club. I belong to BC All Terrier Club, the Miniature Schnauzer Club of Canada. And everybody that I know and associate with, we all have credentials like that. We all have to sign ethics contracts.
Makes sense.
In order to belong to those clubs. And it's expensive. And myself personally, I really value them. Because that, to me, I'm very proud of that signage on my wall, and I can say to people, these are some of my credentials, and these people watch me. And if I did something wrong, then I could lose some of those memberships, and I wouldn't want that at all. And we have to follow codes of conduct with them.
Well, we're running out of time here. And so one thing I wanted to get to that I didn't get to was the lovely names that dogs have. I thought that was so great, and because I just quickly tell you, my first dog was I think Dovmar out of New Man About Town, and that was the thing. And her name was Penstone Bewitched, and
that's a good name.
I thought, what a great thing.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we've run out of time for this day and for this topic, but I hope the viewers have gotten something out of it and know about the difference between breeders and so-called breeders.
Yeah.
And
education is very important.
It is. It's really nice. And for those of you who want to get in touch with the Head On Show, if you have a subject or a topic that you'd like to see us cover, just contact us on the number on the bottom of the screen, and we'll be happy to get back to you and invite you in for a time. As you saw what a good time we had here today, you too can have a good time being interviewed on this show. Thanks for viewing. Take care.